Good morning, CLC. I welcome you to today, and I invite you to join me in just loving yourself a little bit, giving yourself that little extra that just feels good. If you feel so inclined, go ahead and take a nice deep cleansing breath in, breathing in cool, calming oxygen. And as you release the breath, just let everything go for now. Anything happening in the past, anything happening in the future, just let it drift away for the moment. Go ahead and take another nice, deep, cleansing breath. And as you release this breath, allow your body to just relax in this moment. And allow your mind to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself up to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand. And let my words act as your own, for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher presence working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, loving, constructive, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept, knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me. I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in this room or even on this planet anymore. I turn to that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in this room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your lives.
And last week, the Reverend, where is he? David Dewhurst. There he is. Thank you, David, for your wonderful presentation last week. And we look forward to hearing from you again soon. And the end of August, we'll have another special speaker, Reverend Arthur Johnson. And he's excited about it. He's going to talk about mind works. And the series in August, the first 3 weeks that I'm going to do are going to be on, it's kind of hard to explain, myths and memories of a lost golden age, a lost paradise that exists from culture to culture and what this may mean. And I'm going to introduce some writers and thinkers into the conversation that we haven't heard so much from before in this room over the years. And then Arthur will wrap it up the end of August. I wanted to give some shout outs today. First of all, to the oldest living American, whose name is Elizabeth Francis. And she lives right here in Houston. And she turned, happy birthday to her, she turned 115 years old. She was born in the Taft administration. Sit with that, the Taft administration, 1909. And you know what's impressive about, besides just the longevity of it, what's impressive is she's a native of Louisiana. She moved here at age 90. So if you ever say to yourself, well, gosh, I'd really like to go somewhere else, but I'm so old. Okay, ask her. And when they interviewed her, she had this cute little tiara on. She's sitting in bed, you know, but she has this little tiara on her head. And they said, so what do you credit your long life? And, well, you get different answers when you ask centenarians this. You remember the guy I told you about a year or two ago? He said, I eat bacon every day. And every dietitian and medical person who heard that just, you know, threw up their hands, right? Yeah. She says, speak your mind. Speak your mind. She has always spoken her mind, and here she is. So congratulations to her. I also want to congratulate the around 20 Olympians from Houston, from the Houston area, especially our own Simone Biles. And I say our own because she is from right here in Spring. For those of you who are watching this in other places, we have a sprawling metropolis called Houston, and it has all these far-flung suburbs, and we're in one of these on the north side. We are in Spring, Texas, Although, if you came down Spring Stubner, the last few weeks, I guess it's been, there's now a sign up telling you you're entering Klein, Texas. And this is the Spring Klein area, and we did know that. And maybe Klein is asserting itself. Klein listened to Ms. Francis and is speaking its mind, speaking up. So in the Spring Klein area, which adjoins the Tomball area to the west and the Woodlands area to the north, out of this area there are 8, I think, Olympians from right here. The best known of them being Simone Biles. But there's another one that whose story really kind of goes to the talk I'll eventually get to this morning. Her name is Cassidy Cook. Cassidy Cook. Cassidy Cook and her lifelong best friend last night won a silver medal in synchronized diving. Do you ever watch synchronized? How they do the, it's just all of these sports. You think, how are they doing? Synchronized diving is what it sounds like it is. 2 people, 2 diving boards, and they just, they dive the same way. They make the same moves. They know when to somersault. They know when to backflip, and they hit the water at the same time, and it's just ridiculously good. When these 2 women were 11 and 13, they watched, I think it was the Rio Olympics, as little girls, and had never heard of synchronized diving, and happened to watch that and looked at each other and said, yeah, let's try this. And last night won a silver medal in it. Those kinds of stories make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And yet it's so true for all of us. Now you might say, well, only 3%. There are 10,500. Have you found her yet? They have her whole bio up. They probably have her on interview mode now, doing a podcast with her down here from the front. Yeah, you got it. 10,500 Olympics athletes from all over the world. Less than 3% of that number will win in their event. Will go home with a gold medal. But they all go home with pins that they exchange with other athletes. Everyone carries pockets full of national pins with the little flag on it, and they pass these out and they collect pins from other athletes, and they all win at that. They all win at that, at the sense of unity that is created in an experience such as this. And yeah, we can be snarky about it, and we can be, oh, it's so commercialized, or it's so this, or I didn't care for the opening ceremonies, or whatever. We can throw ourselves around the room about how it's just one more kind of letdown, and yet, to us perhaps, because we're too old in our thinking and we're too jaded in our thinking, but to these kids, and they are kids who are participating in this, that's the future. And there's something in that we can recapture within ourselves. And so we turn now to our friend Henry David Thoreau, whom we've been checking in on this month. Great spiritual figure that he was, without intending to be, without planning to be at all. Went off in the woods for a couple of years and wrote some things down, came up with some observations on human society and human behavior, and they've lasted the test of time up to now. He said, if you're building castles in the air, your work need not be in vain. That's where castles should be built. Now put foundations under them. Now put foundations under them. That could be a motto for this whole Science of Mind teaching, this whole matter of spiritual development that we're involved in. The promise is there. Now we got to put in the work. Now we got to put in the work. We got to do what we know to do. And that's the spiritual work that we do every single day, like an athlete practices. Outside, Damian Lillard, the NBA superstar, had a saying. Let's see if I can remember it now. He said, if you want to win if you want to outplay the competition, if you want to outplay the competition in front of tens of thousands of people, you've got to outplay yourself in front of nobody. And that means you got to show up at the gym when there's nobody there, there's no cheering crowd, there's no monumental paycheck on the horizon, and you've got to stand there and shoot free throws, and you got to drive the lane, and you got to practice defense, and you got to keep your hands up, and you got to do this regularly. And you can't rest on your reputation. You can't coast for very long at all if you're going to stay in the game. Now that sounds exhausting, you know? But the work that we're asked to do, all of us, because not all of us are athletes and not all of us want to be. But the work that all of us are asked to do is in terms of prayer and meditation and contemplation and reading and conversation in support of the idea of the oneness of all life. Because if you don't have the oneness of all life, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but your spiritual life is just not going to take you where you want to go. It just isn't. It'll take you further, perhaps, than ordinary everyday thinking, but not much further, because it's going to kind of go over a cliff at some point where everybody's all one and life is all one except these people or except this way of thinking or this ideology. And as soon as we start drawing these kinds of boundaries and putting up these kinds of barriers in our life, we're back in duality. We're back in duality. And duality does not work. There's always some, people sometimes they'll say, well, I don't believe in a devil. That's real old-fashioned, and the red tights and the horns and all that kind of nonsense. That's medieval, okay? But I have this modern, contemporary, streamlined kind of devil I believe in, which is other people's opinions that I don't happen to agree with, or high-fat foods, or this, whatever, chocolates are my, or something. There's something other. Emma Hopkins talked about this. She said, because in her day there was a big temperance movement going on. The temperance movement was driven by women who were tired of domestic violence. They did not have an issue per se with the consumption of alcohol. They had a big issue with their men coming home and beating them up. And so they drove a movement to restrict the consumption, the sale and consumption of alcohol, which eventuated in prohibition. And while they were doing that, mental health care and the awareness of mental illness began to gradually evolve into the understanding that if you remove substances from a situation, it doesn't heal the situation. It's just, it creates another kind of dynamic, that what has to happen is a consciousness of safety and a consciousness of looking out for each other and a consciousness of a safe place where women can go and get away from abusive partners. Well, so Emma Hopkins in the 1880s really is writing about all of this, and without going into the level of detail I just did, but she says, it's not about alcohol and it's not about opium, which was an issue too, because if you've seen the old ads for like cough syrup and stuff, they put cocaine and things, they put opium and things. It's here, give this to your children, that, when they're teething, and it's like, this is insane. But it was what was thought at the time. And tobacco. And she says if you demonize any of these things, if you make these things wrong, they'll never leave you alone. Everywhere you go, they'll be there. Whatever it is you fear, whatever it is you hate, you recreate in your life. And by fear, I mean fear deeply. I guess the word would be dread. Whatever you dread in your life. There are two ways to get and keep something in your life. One way is to love it enough, and the other way is to hate it enough, because the subconscious mind understands the intensity of feeling only. It doesn't say to you, oh, you want this, and you don't, I get it now, you don't want that. It's like if you went in a restaurant and the waiter came over and said, well, what would you like to have? And you said, I really don't want the pork chops, because I hate pork chops. Pork chops are awful. They should be outlawed. You know what the waiter's going to write down? Pork chops. not all the other commentary around it. And the waiter's going to carry that pad back to the, now is the waiter really going to do that? No, but the subconscious mind, see, doesn't have a discriminatory ability the way the conscious aspect of mind does. Conscious aspect of mind can get into the nuances of things and all. The subconscious mind, in terms of its activation through spiritual principle, well, it's a great big mystery is what it is. And I just finished telling somebody who's watching today this, that the subconscious mind, it can take a joke and it's not terribly literal and all like that. What I meant was, it doesn't add a lot of commentary to things. It works on impulse of emotion, works on strength of emotion. So if we walk around hating stuff, and if you hate stuff, you're hyper vigilant to it. Have you noticed that? Boy, nobody better do this around me. And you go through just waiting for that to happen. Like you have the proverbial chip on your shoulder. I auditioned for a play one time. I didn't get the part. When I was in like 8th grade, I wound up as like the equivalent of farmer number 3, you know. But I went out for the lead in a play, and Henry Antrobus and the Skin of Our Teeth, and they said, explaining to me on a cold read, you know, they said, he has a chip on his shoulder. I'd never heard that expression before in my life, so I came out like this. And read the lines, they're like, no, next. But you walk through life with a real chip on your shoulder, and you're like, I dare somebody to knock this off. Okay? All you're aware of is that chip. You don't hear what people say. You don't see what people do. It's all about your buttons being pushed, your chip being knocked. You get the idea. So the subconscious mind working on the intensity of feeling means that I can't harbor grudges, and I can't hold a private vendetta, and I can't do all of this stuff and not have it show up. And that was brought home. You probably want to hear it again, and you can go home and listen to it again. It was brought up in the lyrics of the song Melody just sang. If we only have love, this and this and this will happen. If we only have love, this and this and this cannot happen. It's just not possible. If we have this kind of unconditional love, which of course starts with the love of self, the appreciation of self as the experience that spirit is having of itself in this world at this time by means of us right now. So, to build castles in the air, you put a foundation under them. How do you build the foundation? Through regular spiritual practice. What kind of spiritual practice? Well, that depends. That depends on what you like to do. It's not a rigorous sort of thing. Meditation is always good. You can meditate, you can go into the silence, and you can commune with spirit in that way. And if you don't know how to meditate, there are books and things on this, or you can just try it cold. You can just fly without a net, you know? And just realize that if you're sitting there thinking about meditating, you're not meditating. You're thinking. And then notice the thought that you have about the meditation, and thank the thought and let the thought go, and try not to resist what all's moving through your mind. And when you don't resist it, it'll quiet down, because it's trying to get your attention. When it realizes it can't get your attention, it'll shut up. Very often people get only so far in meditation because they keep starting at the same point with it. And an agenda, a list comes up of things that you should be doing that are more time efficient than meditating, like pointless errands and tasks around the house and things that you have no intention of doing today anyway, but all of a sudden you're disturbed by these things because you're trying to meditate. What's going on there? Well, that's the ego that feels interrupted, and it's the ego wants your constant attention. The ego is another way of saying it's sort of the pilot program for the conscious mind, that you need to maintain intellectual cognizance of everything all at once. This is also why you can't sleep well very often. It's the conscious mind's going over stuff until you tell it to be still and not resist it. There's a paradox there. You don't resist it, and the thing tends to fall silent. So that's basically meditation. Then there's contemplation, which is similar to meditation, but contemplation has an idea to it. So you contemplate, like I brought up oneness. Well, there's a good one for you. You can contemplate oneness. You can contemplate, why is it in our life, like thinking about the Olympics, competition? Why do we compete? Well, I don't know. Everybody has an opinion about that, and their essays and whole books are written on it. But why not just sit with that idea of competition? Here are two people striving for the same exact goal. How does that work? Sit there and think about it, and you'll have an idea. You'll have an awareness come to you that's your idea. Now, immediately we want to say, am I right? Is this the correct idea that I've come up with? That really doesn't matter. That really doesn't matter. It's an illumination for you, and you don't have to prove it to anybody else, which brings me back, when I think of that, always to Simone Biles, who has nothing to prove to anyone. And the sooner that we realize we have nothing to prove to anyone in our lives, the healthier and more effective our lives become. But when we're looking over our shoulder saying, what does the crowd think? What is the popular opinion about this? Will I win the popularity contest? The best thing to do about a popularity contest is don't enter one. Just don't enter one, okay? Just go be you. Just go do what you do. So contemplate on these things. Contemplate on what you read. Try not to get trapped in an ideology, which I realize is funny coming from somebody like me who's standing up here spouting an ideology. I get the irony of this, I really do. But as far as possible, try not to get trapped in an ideology. And there was a wonderful quote given me this week that I can't give you verbatim because I didn't write it down, but it went through my head. And it said something to the effect of, if your responses to different questions are so predictable that others know what you're going to say, you're in an ideology. You're not in free thought. You're not in free thought. Free thought examines each question independently as though it were a whole new day, rather than what is the script I should be following. And it's one of the things that I really don't care for about any kind of organized religion, including the one that I belong to and am a teacher in, is the idea that there has to be a fixed ideology where we all have to kind of have groupthink around certain outcomes and things in life. No, be you. Look at it in your unique way. So, when you look for guidance, when you look for coaching, when you look for any kind of role model figure, don't look at another person. Don't even look at the venerable books they wrote and the legacy they left. Go look at the sky. Go look at the moon. Go look at something larger than human opinion and see what it does for you. See how it fills you up. See how it causes you to meet up with the source of your own being in a space where nothing has ever not only been wrong, where nothing has ever been needed. Where nothing has ever been needed. There is a place of fullness and wholeness and transcendence where all is well. And what we're going to talk about next week is, has it ever been possible that such a place could exist here under our feet on this earth? And that's not a yes or no question. That's a subject for your interpretation and your contemplation, and all I'm going to do is throw some bait out, here, chum the water kind of for you as we go forward with this. But whether or not such a place, the Garden of Eden, Valhalla on earth, Shangri-La, El Dorado, whatever you want to call it, whether or not that ever existed here for us, we know that it exists in a dimension of consciousness beyond the physical where we can go, which is why we call this metaphysics, beyond the physical. It comes from Aristotle, and it's a mistranslation of Aristotle. But anyway, we go to that place directly, and that's how we put our... One last thing for you. He mentions castles in the plural. Building not just one castle in the air. It's not just your life's work to put up one castle, but lots of little castles. Like, what if? What if? What if, though I'm 11 years old now, I could grow up and do what I see these people doing in this sport on TV? What if I could do that? What if I could write the great book What if I could paint the great painting? What if I could help people across the earth have enough to eat? What if I could create foundations and do things of financial wealth, move money or resources around to help heal disease? What if? That's asking the question. It starts handing you the bricks, starts handing you the materials to build the foundation under your dream. And one more quote for you. This is from James Clear, who Reverend Arthur Johnson is this huge fan of James Clear. I no doubt he's going to quote James Clear to you at least several times, or at least he will now that he hears me saying this. But well, we've talked about this before. James Clear, who says, "Yeah, Rome was not built in a day. Rome was not built in a day. Well, you can't build Rome in a day." No, he said, but every moment, they were laying a brick. Somebody was laying a brick. Somebody was doing some work. So today, maybe not. Tonight, maybe not by nightfall. Have you come into the full possession of your spiritual estate as the experience Spirit's having by means of you? Maybe not first thing Monday morning, but one day soon. And for the rest of your life. And it takes me back to Vichy, France, and Casablanca. And I asked Jeffrey, and I spoke on, or texted on Friday about music for today. And I said, how about something French because of the Paris Olympics? And that was what you heard. That was a Jacques Brel number that Melody sang for you. And I thought, I should get up and I should do the entire talk in a phony, bad French accent. All 30 minutes of it in a bad French, right? No, but no French accent. Oui. So let us now know together there is one life, one power, one presence, everywhere radiant, everywhere beautiful, and it's in this spring Klein area where we are now. It has poured us down some more rain. We might say, well, we sure didn't need it, but we'll save it up. It's filling reservoirs and lakes and streams and doing what it needs to do. And the bullfrogs are very, very happy about all of this. You can hear them at night out there croaking away. Well, so it is that life provides for us, nature provides for us, if we'll let her, and not interfere with the optimism of nature. So this word that I speak, it's about coming into a full possession of our spiritual faculties, letting go anything that's unnecessary, anything that clogs the pipes, anything that blocks the view, so that we might stand in the full radiance of the shining light of Spirit that's behind all clouds, behind all rain, reminding us who we are, whose we are, reminding us that our dreams can come true, and they will look different when they do than we had anticipated, but that's how we grow, and that's how we learn. Otherwise, we'd be having the same experience over and over of envisioning a thing and then stepping into it, and then envisioning something else and stepping into that. A duplication of effort is not what Spirit provides. Always we grow. Always we change. So we embrace change. We throw ourselves into it with wild abandon, saying, bring it on. Because we're safe and we're whole and we're enough and we are beloved. And for this knowing and the way that it manifests in form all across the landscape, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now, calling it done, and so it is.
That's cool. So as we come up to, well, everything else you can see in the weekly email. If you don't get it, send an email to info@creativelife.org and you'll get it. And as Mark makes his way to the back, I just want to thank all of you for your contributions, whether it's your monetary contributions, coming here to help out, make our garden out there look really good. So just thank you for all you do for us. And let's all say together now, divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have. All the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. I just want to mention one other thing. When I came up here to speak last Sunday, I was deliberately intending to speak about our daily practice, which Reverend Jesse spoke about online today. But like everything else, when you come up here, if you give your talk over to Spirit, then you never know what's going to happen. So I actually ended up talking last week about community, and that is not what I intended to speak about. And you know the good thing about that? It's like Bob Proctor, my mentor, used to say, I can brag about this because none of it's mine.
Responsibilities. My mind is just utterly blank right now. Which is not terrifying for me. That's okay. I'm okay with my mind being blank. I'm thinking about the Olympics. Because I enjoy watching the Olympics, and one of my favorite sports to watch is the track and field. I love to watch women run. And one of the reasons why I love to watch women run is because there is something about the strength of the body when you watch women run. I mean, yes, you can watch men run and see the same strength, but there's something, I don't know, about watching women run that just brings up this idea of strength that I want to embody. I did run for a little bit. I am currently in a position in my life where running is not possible, but I intend to get back to it. And it's that strength, I think, that we see in these kids. Although there are some people who are, depending on the sport, not kids. It's this strength of mind and body and character and spirit that makes watching the Olympics such a joy. How they're just happy to be there. That a whole lot of them, as you heard Reverend Jesse say, 3% are going to go home with a medal. But every one of them got to be there and have that experience. And it's that strength that I would like to embody today. So I invite you with me to consciously enter into the sacred. It's all sacred all the time. It's a holy moment every moment. But when we consciously enter into it, it asks something different of us. It asks us to sit up a little straighter and embody that strength of spirit that reminds us who we are. So we know that there is one power, one presence, one life, one love. That it is multiplicity. It is unity, but not uniformity. That spirit flows through each and every one of us. That we are divine vessels for that presence and that love. And that when we remember that, when we remember who we are, amazing things happen. And so as you move through this week, I encourage you to remember who you are, to remember whose you are, to remember who made you, who loves you unconditionally. And that in the area of self-expression, you can't get it wrong. It's your life. And the way you do it is always right for you. And as you examine all of the castles in your air, the bricks for the foundations come to you effortlessly. And that the guidance on where to place each and every one of those bricks is there. And I'm grateful for this knowing, as I am grateful for those castles in the air. I am grateful to know each and every one of you as the beloved expressions of the divine. And I am grateful for a teaching that doesn't teach me what to believe, but how. That teaches me the strength of my own ideas and to consider my own responses, just as you each have that power and privilege. And I'm grateful for this community where we come together to remind each other of who we are. I am grateful for our ministers. I am grateful for our practitioners. I am grateful for our musicians. I am grateful for each and every one of you. And I am grateful for the technology that allows us to send this message out into the ethers as we receive all of those messages from the ethers. And I relax and release into love and law with love. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use it.
And I love it.
And I love it.
So it is.
And so it is.